What if nothing is actually wrong with your life, but everything feels off because of what your mind has been conditioned to notice? Not intentionally, not overnight, but gradually, your attention has learned to lock on to what's missing, what's failing, what might go wrong next. You don't wake up choosing negativity. It just runs on autopilot. A problem shows up and your mind lingers there. A delay happens and it sticks longer than anything that went right. Without even realizing it, your focus begins shaping how your entire day feels. But here's what most people never stop to question. Your mind is not neutral. It's constantly being trained through repetition. Whatever you think about most, react to most, give your attention to most, your mind starts treating as important. And once something is labeled important, your mind goes hunting for more of it. That's why the same kinds of problems seem to repeat. Not always because they're increasing, but because your awareness is tuned to spot them faster. Over time, that awareness becomes your reality. You begin expecting things to go wrong. You start anticipating stress before it even shows up. And even when something good happens, it feels temporary, like it won't last. But what if the opposite is also true? What if you could train your mind to notice what's working, what's growing, what's great, even in the smallest ways? Not by pretending everything is perfect, but by shifting what you choose to focus on within your reality, because there is always something good present, even in difficult moments. Something small, something quiet, something easy to miss. And the more you notice it, the more your mind starts bringing it forward automatically. At first, it feels weird, almost forced. Your mind resists, tries to pull you back to familiar patterns, toward problems, toward doubt, toward what it has prioritized for years. That resistance isn't failure. It's evidence that something is changing. You're interrupting a pattern that has shaped your thoughts for a long time, a pattern that influenced how you feel, how you react, and how you interpret everything around you. And if you keep going, if you keep guiding your focus instead of letting it drift, something begins to shift. You start noticing opportunities where you once saw obstacles, possibilities where you once saw limits. Your energy changes, not suddenly, not dramatically, but steadily. You begin to feel lighter, clearer, more in control of your thoughts. And that shift doesn't stay in your head, it starts affecting your actions. Because what you see shapes how you feel, and how you feel drives what you do next. Most people are waiting for life to improve before they allow themselves to feel better. But the truth is, your perception has to change first. Without that shift, even better circumstances will be filtered the same way. This is where control actually begins, not in changing everything around you, but in changing how you process it, in deciding what deserves your attention and what doesn't. And once you realize that, you start moving differently. You stop reacting automatically. You start choosing your focus. You begin guiding your thoughts instead of being dragged by them. That's when things start opening up, not because your life's suddenly perfect, but because your mind is no longer filtering everything. It starts recognizing growth, progress, and possibility. And over time, that becomes your new baseline. You begin to expect things to work out. Not blindly, not without effort, but with direction instead of doubt. So the real question isn't whether there is good in your life, it's whether you've trained yourself to see it. Because whatever you train your mind to focus on will expand in your awareness. What you're about to hear isn't meant to be heard once and forgotten. It's meant to be repeated, absorbed, slowly reshaping how your mind processes everything around you. Repeat it, feel overwhelmed. Repeat it when your thoughts drift toward doubt. Repeat it when things don't go your way, because those are the moments when your focus matters most. And if you stay with it long enough, something starts to feel different. You won't just notice more good, you'll start feeling more in control of your experience, because life hasn't been working against you. You've simply been trained to see it that way, and that training can change. There's a process happening within every man, whether he realizes it or not. It is quiet. It doesn't demand attention, yet it operates constantly, shaping how he sees, interprets, and experiences the world before him. This process is the training of attention. A man does not simply observe life. He is taught what to notice within it. If I were to begin again, I would not first try to change my circumstances. I would examine what my mind has been trained to see. There is a belief that perception is natural, that what a man notices is simply what exists. Yet this is not entirely true. For two men may stand in the same situation, experience the same event, and yet see it completely differently. One sees difficulty, the other sees possibility. The difference is not in what is present, but in what has been trained. If I were beginning again, I would recognize that perception is learned. There is also the way this training happens, not through sudden instruction, but through repetition. A man notices something once, and it passes. He notices it again, and it becomes familiar. He notices it repeatedly, and it becomes expected. And what is expected is searched for. If I were beginning again, I would observe what I have been repeating. There is also the influence of emotional weight. A man remembers what affects him most strongly. A difficulty leaves a deeper mark than a small success. A delay lingers longer than a quiet achievement. And because of this, his mind starts assigning greater importance to what disturbs him. Not because it is greater, but because it is felt more intensely. If I were beginning again, I would not allow intensity to decide importance. There are many who have unknowingly trained their minds toward what is lacking. They notice what is missing before what is present. They see what went wrong before what went right. And through repetition, this becomes their pattern. Not chosen, but accepted. If I were beginning again, I would not accept this pattern without question. There is also the accumulation of these moments. A man does not form his perception in a single day. It builds gradually through thousands of small observations. Each one adds to the next. Each one strengthens the pattern until it becomes automatic. If I were beginning again, I would understand that what feels automatic was once repeated. There is also the danger of this automatic state. A man begins to believe that what he sees is complete, that his perception fully reflects reality. Yet in truth, he is only seeing what he has been trained to notice. Much remains unseen. If I were beginning again, I would question what I am not seeing. There is also the example of men who have shaped their attention deliberately. They did not let their minds drift toward what is negative or uncertain. They directed their focus. They chose what to repeat, and through this, they changed what they saw. Their reality did not change instantly, but their perception did. If I were beginning again, I would follow this method. There is also how this appears to others. A man trained to see difficulty looks tense, reactive, uncertain. He anticipates problems. He speaks of what may go wrong. And over time, this becomes visible. Not because he intends it, but because it's been repeated. If I were beginning again, I would become aware of how my perception shows up. There is also the contrast of a man who trains his attention differently. He notices progress, even when it's small. He sees what is working, even when incomplete. He acknowledges difficulty, but does not stay stuck in it. He keeps moving. If I were beginning again, I would build this way of seeing. There is also the realization that the mind is not neutral. It does not observe equally. It selects, it filters, it prioritizes. And what it prioritizes is shaped by what has been repeated most. If I were beginning again, I would direct this selection. There is also the formation of expectation. A man who repeatedly notices problems begins to expect them. He anticipates delay, difficulty, disruption, and because he expects them, he recognizes them instantly, even when they are small. If I were beginning again, I would not let expectation form unconsciously. There's also the compounding effect of expectation. A man sees more of what he expects, and because he sees more of it, his expectation feels confirmed. This cycle strengthens itself until it feels like certainty. If I were beginning again, I would interrupt this cycle. There is also the quiet impact this has on emotion. A man who constantly notices difficulty feels heavier, more burdened, more uncertain. Not always because life is heavier, but because his attention is fixed on what weighs him down. If I were beginning again, I would not let my attention stay fixed there. There is also the understanding that what a man sees shapes what he feels, and what he feels shapes what he does. Perception is not passive, it is active. It directs behavior. If I were beginning again, I would take control of that direction. There is also the moment of awakening. A man realizes his mind was trained not by force, but by repetition. That his perception is not fixed, but shaped, and what has been shaped can be reshaped. If I were beginning again, I would begin here. There is also the removal of blame. A man does not need to condemn himself for what he has seen. He was trained gradually, often without awareness. But now that he sees it, he can choose differently. If I were beginning again, I would choose differently. There is also the beginning of control, not over everything that happens, but over what is noticed within it. A man cannot always change his circumstances, but he can change what he pays attention to within them. And in doing so, he changes his experience. If I were beginning again, I would take this control deliberately. There is also the final realization. A man does not see life as it is. He sees life as he has been trained to notice it. And if that training was unintentional, it may lead toward limitation. But if it becomes intentional, it may lead toward possibility. If I were to express this as instruction, I would say, examine what your mind has been trained to notice and begin directing it consciously. Let this be fixed firmly within. My attention has been shaped and I now choose what it becomes. Repeat this not as encouragement, but as awareness. And if I were to begin again from nothing, I would begin here. I would observe my attention. I would see where it returns again and again. I would recognize that repetition has shaped my perception, and from there I would stop letting my mind drift what was unconsciously trained, and instead begin guiding it, slowly, deliberately, consistently, until what I see is no longer limited by the past, but shaped by what I choose to notice each moment, each day, each experience, built not by accident, but by intention.